welcome to Well Rooted. My name is Henning and I'm your host today of Rooted Recap. Thank you for tuning in. We are recording this on Tuesday, the day after Oligarch Met Gala. I mean, what a disappointment in seeing all these celebrities show up and show out for this fascist, honestly. And I say fascist because the more I've looked into why people are boycotting Amazon and why they don't want to see people going to this event, the more I understand the level of desperation among the people who do show up. Like the desperation to be photographed, the desperation to continually be culturally relevant in some sense or another, the desperation to be seen and validated truly needs to be studied. Because the thing about Amazon and Jeff Bezos is, aside from the inhumane working conditions that he succumbs his employees to, aside from not even reporting a lot of injuries, nearly 41% of injuries that happen in Amazon are not reported. And then on top of that, to be having contractual agreements with ICE agencies, those same agencies that are ripping American families apart, murdering American citizens, and basically just assaulting and harassing American cities all across the country. Those ICE agencies are the agencies that Jeff Bezos has contracts with. Just imagine for a moment that I told you this person, we'll call him Jimmy. Jimmy has a company. He's a multi-billionaire. He treats his employees like shit. He doesn't care about them. He encourages his delivery drivers to drive faster if they slow down or if they nap a little bit too long. He encourages his employees to continue to work without proper rest, without a proper break. Even if they succumb to injuries, he's not reporting it, not getting them the treatment that they deserve. And he's also donating money to Republican candidates. Those same Republican candidates that are now tweeting Islamophobic remarks, that are putting into legislation laws that prevent women from having full autonomy over their own bodies, the same Republicans that are voting and siding with our fascist president. Yeah, those Republicans are the ones that he also donated millions of dollars to in 2024. Imagine if I told you that guy that does all of these things is having a party. Let's go. Would you go? Would you go to a party of someone who has such a low moral code, with someone who is so depraved in the way they treat other people? Would you go to a party of someone who has such a strong superiority complex? It's insane. Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos are now trying to use the Met Gala to clean up their image. That's essentially what it is. Yeah, I mean, they are trying to buy their way into culture, but why do people want to be a part of culture? Because culture is cool. It's relevant. It's cool to be photographed and to be seen with the Kardashians and to be seen with Brianna and Beyonce. It makes them feel better about themselves. If they can wash their hands, at least publicly, at least superficially in front of all the cameras, of all of the terrible, terrible, terrible things they've done to other human beings, then if you see them enough times photographed with all the right people, you may forget about it. And you may just start to see them as a staple in our cultural zeitgeist instead of a deterrent to equality and humane treatment of all people. But yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen for me. And it's not going to happen for a lot of people. I am very disappointed in the amount of people that showed up. And I'm sure if you're listening to this and you listen to our show, you're probably on the same page with me as well. I would have truly loved to see someone dressed within theme. Which, by the way, I felt like they also had to dumb down the theme for Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez to even understand it. It was so simple, and yet there were so many misses. And I'm not going to lie, there were some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful looks. There were some people that absolutely slayed. I would have loved to see them slay within another environment, not one that was put on and paid for by an oligarch. So yeah, a lot of people were referring to the Met Gala this year as the Hunger Games. They're not wrong. But I've been referring to the Met Gala as the Hunger Games for a couple of years. Let's think back to the 2024 Met Gala, shall we? It was just months into the onslaught in Gaza. The genocide in Gaza was increasing at a dangerously high rate by the minute. We didn't know what was happening. when it could end, if it could end. It was literally in the thick of it. Not that we're doing so much better today in Gaza. Like, let's be fucking for real for a second. Ceasefire, no ceasefire. The people in Gaza are still suffering. And now the people in Lebanon are suffering as well at the hands of the same genocidal entity. But in 2024, that was the Hunger Games. People were just dripping opulence while this genocide was in the beginning stages, while the lies of 40 beheaded babies was still being peddled all across the globe um, in order to justify the genocide, in order to justify the mass murder of Palestinians. The lie of rapes on October 7th was still being peddled. The lie of Hamas using human shields, of Hamas hiding weapons under hospitals was still being peddled. We were in the thick of it. Palestinians were being dehumanized at an unseen level during the 2024 Gala, and people still showed up. That, to me, that was the Hunger Games. And even till today, like, I don't want to normalize the world we live in today, because nothing that's happening today is normal at all. But in that first year of genocide, especially, we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know the extent to which people were truly going to suffer. And it was horrific. It was minute by minute, hour by hour. Every time we thought it couldn't get worse, we thought Israel couldn't get more evil, they consistently proved this wrong. We were losing journalists, doctors, activists by the minute. Children were being assaulted in such a way that we had never seen in modern history. And yet people still showed up. So I'm not so shocked that people showed up today. I think they want to normalize the world we live in and this sort of extreme wealth inequality, especially at a time when we are now, for better or worse, at war. People are suffering here at home to a crazy extent. They can't afford the cost of living. And yet you have this display of extreme wealth inequality. But going back to Jeff Bezos, who wants to be in the same room as that guy? The guy that, again, has contracts with ICE agencies, that has donated to Republican campaigns, the guy that doesn't even treat his own employees fairly, doesn't even give them safe working environments, the guy that gave his employees plastic water bottles to pee in instead of providing them an adequate break to just go rest and take a bathroom break. Who does that? That would be fine if Jeff Bezos himself was struggling. Like, I could see it. I could be like, he's a struggling business owner. Jeff Bezos is a billionaire. Jeff Bezos has more money than anyone could ever possibly need or even imagine wanting. And he can't even provide basic decency for his employees who are suffering while on the job. On top of that, we have Chris Smalls, who is the Amazon Union organizer and founder, who has consistently been speaking up for workers' rights in Amazon, who not only has helped organize for Amazon employees, but also has led his image and his voice to the Palestinian cause, who was on board the Freedom Flotilla last year that sailed all the way to Palestine. He was detained by Israel. He was one of the last captors to be released by Israel. And yet we saw this man be assaulted onto the ground by 5 or 6 police officers that were commanded to attack him by Jeff Bezos during the Met Gala. And I will never, ever get that image of Chris Smalls being attacked and thrown to the ground and assaulted by police officers as Heidi Klum, dressed as a freaking statue, climbs the Met Gala stairs. That image will be forever burned in my mind, and I truly believe will be really representative of this moment in history. Again, it's really highlighting that gap of equality, and it's just the juxtaposition of immorality to morality and the way one is treated over the other. It's insane. It's insane that we live in this world. Listen, I love art and I love fashion just as much as the next girl. And I want to be able to enjoy these things. And I think that's what's really frustrating for a lot of us, is that we also enjoy life. We also enjoy art. We also enjoy culture and want to participate in it, just like everyone else. But it's not something that we can easily do It's not easy to set aside your morals and your basic decency to just participate in something that's now just very shallow. I'm not going to lie. There were some gorgeous, gorgeous gowns. I mean, Sabine Gutty, who was Lebanese and who was a producer on The Voice of Hind Rajab, looked stunning. She's also a jewelry designer. So I believe she was wearing her own jewelry, and it was also pictured in the art that she was wearing. She looked stunning. And she's a great human being who has consistently spoken up for Palestine as well. But it's also very disappointing. I can also say, hey, I'm really disappointed to see you there. Because I am. There are a lot of people that are very disappointing lately. And like, why would we not hold them accountable to that? The thing that really got to me was Sarah Paulson. I'm sure you've seen the image by now of Sarah Paulson with the dollar bills stuck to her or covering her eyes. Ridiculous. That is ridiculous because she thinks she's making some big move there. She thinks she's having a moment. It wasn't what she thinks. It wasn't hitting the way she thinks it was hitting. It fell very flat. Sarah Paulson has, signed petitions in support of Israel. She's tried to sort of both sides it when she can. And so watching her try to make some sort of political statement in any way is just, yeah, it's falling on deaf ears, girl. It's not doing what you think it's doing. You of all people need to be making a much grander and straightforward statements. You don't get the privilege of making a political statement in art at a Jeff Bezos gala when you've been either silent or sort of both siding it for Palestinians and Israelis. Like you don't get to be that person. You're not that person. And you'll never be that person until you actually learn to use your voice as it is intended to be used. But it's very interesting to watch someone with such an absurd amount of money attempt to buy their way into culture. And I think that's a turnoff for a lot of people on its own, regardless of what he and Lauren Sanchez dedicate their money and time to. The fact that someone with such an absurd amount of money is able to sort of attempt, I would say, to buy their way into culture is very interesting. Obviously, you can have money and not have class. You can have money and not be cool, and that's okay. You still have your money. You don't need to be everything. I saw a TikTok a while ago that a creator made where she had a Venn diagram, and it was basically a Venn diagram to illustrate culture. And one circle was fashion and or style. The other circle was money. Another circle was sex appeal. There was one other circle, I want to say it was like talent and or skill. In order to be culturally relevant or considered cool, you need to be able to overlap at least two of those circles. And it's very, very rare that someone can overlap all of those circles. She gave the example of Kim Kardashian. And she said, Kim Kardashian has the money and Kim Kardashian has the sex appeal. But the problem with Kim Kardashian is that she sometimes will fall flat when she tries to do all of those things or to be all of those things, because no one is truly meant to be all of those things. And so when she tries to do that, it comes off as inauthentic and will sometimes fall flat because it just doesn't naturally work for her. And I would even say that she did come across fashion and style later on, but a lot of people would attribute that to who she was married to Kanye, who already fulfills the circle of style and fashion, as well as money, and as well as just being talented and skillful in whatever it is that he does. What Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez are trying to do is they are trying to overlap circles in that Venn diagram. They clearly fulfill the circle of wealth, of having money. They have a very large circle of wealth, but they are trying to cross over into a circle of style and fashion, but they're not quite making a splash into that circle. We saw that when they purchased the cover of Vogue magazine to display a less than mediocre wedding gown. We see it now with them buying the Met Gala and showing up also in less than mediocre looks. They have the money to purchase the things and the money to put their names on things, but it's not translating into cultural currency the way that they want it to. And so they're not fulfilling that circle of style and fashion. They're clearly not fulfilling the circle of sex appeal, despite how hard Lauren Sanchez continues to try. It's just not working. And they're not fulfilling the circle of talent or skill. to where they become some sort of cultural staple. And their circle of wealth is huge. It's bigger than anyone else's circle of wealth. But this just proves that your circle of wealth can be as big as you want it to be and still never truly overlap in a meaningful way into other circles that will produce cultural currency and relevance for you. And that's what we see happening with them. They're purchasing their way into society and into celebrity culture, and they're expecting that to translate into cultural currency and relevance. And I would even say they're hoping that that translates into some sort of fan adoration or respect and belonging within the cultural zeitgeist. And it's just not happening. It's not translating the way they want it to. And I don't think it will. I don't think it will. And it's insane because you see Lauren Sanchez hiring Law Roach, who clearly sold out to be her stylist. And he's styled Zendaya, and she's always been best dressed. But it's just simply not translating well to Lauren Sanchez, is it? It's just not giving, his art is not hitting the way it should be hitting. Could it be that their lack of culture, their lack of authenticity, their lack of creativity is rubbing off on someone who typically is very artistic and creative and talented? Could it be that being in such close proximity of talentless oligarchs who despise equality and justice and humane conditions, working conditions for all people, could it be that rubbing shoulders with them transpires into you not looking very talented, to you not playing such a heavy role in culture as you once did? I think being in the presence of Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez, whether it's at the Met Gala or at Kris Jenner's house for a birthday party, is going to eventually have adverse reactions on the quote unquote artists that decide to rub shoulders with them. There's just no way you can expect to be taken seriously as an artist and as a human being and still be in the presence of someone who has contributed so much bad to our society, simply as Americans. Another thing I noticed, if you follow cultural commentator Blakely, he does lots of commentary on celebs, on culture in general. And he was sharing screenshots of past messages he had received from Stella McCartney, from other creatives who had previously tried to work with him when he had not agreed to work with them. But he shared screenshots of these people because they all made appearances at the Met Gala. And he was really trying to show their lack of morality and how they conduct business as well. And what I noticed from looking at those screenshots is the way these people throw the word activist around, almost as if they actually understand what an activist is. Because I don't think they're getting it, but they sure love to use that word. And if you don't know what I mean, go to @BlakelyThornton and go to his page on Instagram. He has tons of videos up, and he has a specific video where there is an email from Stella McCartney's team reaching out to him to do some sort of project at a Stella McCartney store. And they are looking for a quote unquote creative activist to be part of their media campaign. And then he shares another screenshot of another brand trying to source an activist or a creative to also appear in a media campaign. I find it very interesting that these brands are seeking out activists, but somehow managing to work with people who are not using platforms to speak up for those that don't have a voice, who are not making any sort of sacrifice for the common good. Activists are sacrificing so much of themselves physically, economically, professionally in order to speak out. We see a lot of celebs who have had to sacrifice professional connections and jobs in order to speak out for Palestine. We've seen politicians who have sacrificed a lot to speak out for what they truly believe is right. And so many civilians, right? So many people I'm sure you know in your own life that have sacrificed opportunities to really make a statement that matters. And yet these people will throw the word activist around as if they truly understand the meaning of that word. Being an activist means sacrificing something outside of yourself for the greater good. And what we saw at the Met Gala, for example, was just indulgence, indulgence, indulgence. It was the stark contrast of what activism truly is. There was no sacrifice to truly be made. It was just overconsumption and a display of opulent wealth. I want to switch gears really quick. I want to end on a positive note, and I want to end on the fact that we as Arab and as Middle Easterners have such vast talent within our communities. And one of the people that really shines in terms of that talent and in terms of the strength and resilience has produced such talent, I would say is Sylwia Nazzal. Sylwia Nazzal is the founder of Nazzal Studio, and I had the opportunity to interview her last year. I'm going to link the episode in our show notes for this episode so that you can go back and listen to her episode. But her story of building Nazzal Studios, going on to win the Fashion Trust Arabia Award for her first debut graduate collection out of Parsons is so inspiring and so beautiful because the story of her collection is rooted in Palestinian resistance. It's very evident. If you haven't already checked out her collection, go check it out online and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Aside from the collection itself being representative of that ideal, the journey of her building and creating that collection, even the journey of her going through Parsons Fashion and Design School in Paris is an act of resistance and resilience. And I encourage you to go back and listen to that episode. Again, I will link it in our show notes today so that you will have it right there for you. But that is true artistry, that is true sacrifice, that is true resistance, and that is true creativity. That is the type of art I want to celebrate today and every day. And that is the type of art I want to focus on. And that is the type of artists I want to focus on. I'm not anti-Met Gala. I love a function and I love art and I love fashion and I love celebrating artists. And I hope one day, inshallah, our artists will be on those carpets, outshining everyone else and telling their stories through their art. That is the ultimate goal and that is the ultimate dream. And I won't give up on that. And I hope you don't give up on that either. We will find our place in the sun, and a lot of us already have, and we will continue to outshine all those that attempt to dim our lights. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Please share the episode with a friend. Leave us a comment, a review. It means the world and it helps our show grow. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.